in tradition, led by a quarterback rich in lineage. These storied programs have only met 4 times before, and yet this will be the second time they meet in the same calendar.
The penalty came in.
A north-south rivalry is brewing, with the Buckeyes determined to prove that everything is bigger in Ohio. The Texas Longhorns, the Ohio State Buckeyes, a new season of the football fever starts right now.
Well, it's finally here. After 7 long months, college football is back, and that means the Buckeyes are back to defend their national title. Today's massive 1 versus 3 matchup is drawing tens of thousands of fans to watch head coach Ryan Day and his Buckeyes defend the shoe. And that big game energy is being felt right here in the studio as well. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Football Fever pregame show. Ben Buchanan here in studio with former Buckeye Jay Richardson. Jay, it's time for Ohio State to begin their title defense. It's good to see you, my man. We are back. How are you feeling? Ohio State, Texas, it does not get much better than this, my man.
What I got to say, first things first, congratulations to the Ohio State Buckeyes for winning a national championship.
Yep.
And now nobody cares. It's time to turn the page, baby. We got a whole new season to see what they're going to do this year. I am so excited about this season, Ben. I'm really, really excited for Ryan Day and his opportunity to take the reins of the college football world and insert himself as the new dominant force in coaching in college football. And let's be honest, he has an opportunity to do that. This is Ohio State's opportunity this season to maybe go on an Alabama, Nick Saban-ish kind of run where they just are always in the big one and in and out, into the playoffs for about maybe 4 to 5 years. They have the recruiting to do it.
Yeah.
They have the personnel. They have the coaching. 2 new coordinators that we're very, very excited about. One, Brian Hartline. So when you look at what this team is set up to do, it could be a magical run for the Ohio State Football University, but it all starts at noon, just under an hour, when they kick off against a very, very good Texas team.
Got to flip the page, as we say. Congrats to them last year, but excellence is the expectation, not the exception here at Ohio State, as we know. Now, going back-to-back, as we know, that can be tough. The Buckeyes have had their fair share of nasty championship hangovers, if we'll call them that, after Jay Rich and company shocked the college football world with a 31-24 victory over Miami, ending their 34-game winning streak. That was an incredible game. I was there as well for that one. They didn't reach the same heights in 03, though, if you look at that. After 2 tough losses to Wisconsin and that team up north, the Buckeyes, which they won, beating Kansas State 35-28. And obviously, who can forget the Urban Meyer coached Ohio State Buckeyes in 2014, first ever college football playoff national champions. It was Meyer's coaching, Zeke's hard-nosed running, and the relentless effort of this 2-20 win over Marcus Mariota and Oregon in that one. But the next year, a late season loss to Michigan State sealed the Buckeyes' fate. They would miss out on being able to defend their title and have to settle for a Fiesta Bowl victory over Notre Dame. Jay, you were part of that 2003, if we'll call it a hangover season. What was that like? You win a natty and then you have a good year but come up just short the next year.
You know what's crazy? Being a true freshman at Ohio State, going into Tempe, Arizona, and winning a national championship, you don't expect that your first year in. Everyone's so excited. It was such a magical run.
Yeah.
And I got to admit, that off season, guys had to sober up a little bit, after partying in Scottsdale, which felt like a month straight. You had to kind of sober up and lock back in. And that season, there was some off-the-field turmoil. As you remember, we lost for that next season. Yeah. Our running back, the best running back, maybe best player in the country at that time, Maurice Clarett. So we didn't have all of our horses, and we still had a solid showing. But you lose to Wisconsin. I remember being on the field for that game. That was a rough one. You lose to Penn State, and you just don't feel like you did everything you could do to have the best season you could possibly have, and that all started in the offseason. What's so different about this Ryan Day coach team is that they had a fantastic offseason. They reloaded in the areas they needed to.
Yep.
But Ryan has built this culture around this program as guys. That was wonderful what we did, but we know how to win now. We know how to execute at a high level.
No doubt.
And we do the things that got us where we were last season, and this team looks primed to do that.
Yeah, it's next man up mentality, and it is that leadership. When the margins are this thin, right? You're going to start today versus Texas, have to go 1-0 if you're going to have a chance to go back-to-back. And as we know, Jay, going back-to-back in college football, it's certainly 2021 and 2022. Alabama accomplished the feat in 2011, 2012, and Nebraska did it in the mid-90s, 94, 95. It seems it only happens maybe once a decade. So in your opinion, what does it take specifically for a team to go back-to-back and win 2 national championships?
Well, ideally, when you win the first one, you want to do it with a younger roster if you can, so you can get a lot of those guys returning. You know, Ohio State, a lot of guys went to the NFL, 14, and so you lose a lot of turnover, and there's just not as much talent you would think. Experience, okay? You want to come back with experienced football players. Even if you have a roster that didn't return all their starters, the guys that you have in that locker room and who are going to be those starters have to have some experience. And what Ohio State has going for them is they have a lot of experienced returning players, guys who saw action in the college football playoffs last season, who may not have started every game last season, but they know what that feeling is like to lace them up in a big game. Bright-eyed and nervous this afternoon. They'll be ready to rock and roll, which we all love, but it's just such a hard thing to do, Ben. And now with the portal, with NIL, with the shuffling of the deck, with so many coaches struggling to retain their rosters year in and year out, it's going to be extremely hard to repeat. I think it'll be even more rare. You'll see that. So if Ryan Day and the Buckeyes can even come close to that and be on that path, that says a lot to what the program and the culture that Ohio State's built.
The game has evolved, as we say. You're right. As impressive it is to recruit, retention is kind of the name of the game.
That's the name of the game
in college football right now. All right, for more on the Buckeyes and what it takes to reload for another championship season, let's send things out to Dave Holmes and Obi Stillwell, who are live at the Shoe. Guys, what's going on?
Good afternoon. First off, it is suit weather outside in late August. Thank you so much for that. Beautiful day here at the Shoe. It feels like a little bit of fall, and it almost feels like January in a way because these two teams just met 7 months ago. But this time, Obi, in the season opener, can you remember a non-conference opener of this magnitude?
No, absolutely not. This is exciting. I think college football is doing it right. They're taking a little bit of recipe out of the March Madness basketball piece. It's exciting because it feels a little bit like Georgetown, Syracuse. I'm kind of dating myself back in the 80s, or North Carolina, Duke, where you see this amazing matchup, but you also are like, this could actually happen at the end of the season again, right?
Yeah, it really is, and history says it will happen again potentially, because if you look at these teams, they've only met twice in non-conference games, twice in the postseason, but only twice in non-conference games. So let's go back to 2005. Texas comes in here and wins at the Shoe behind Vince Young. Longhorns go on to win the national title. The next year, Columbus goes down and beats Colt McCoy in Austin. The Buckeyes go to the national title game. So, Obi, history would tell us that if you win this game, there's a good chance you're going to be one of the last teams standing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing. I love the anticipation because though we have a number of different guys that we're familiar with, I think on both sides, right? Texas and Ohio State, we're not exactly sure what we're going to see. We're kind of anticipating a little bit, but you know what? There were not only did we have 8, Ohio State had 8 guys that are no longer, that were starters, that were 3-year starters. Actually, 8 guys are no longer with the program. They also had 9 guys that jumped into the portal that we were expecting to come back this year, and they're not back this year. But you know what? As stable as they say Texas is, there's some instability there too. So it's going to be I'll say there'll be a lot of questions that'll be answered by the end of this game.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as I said, they've only met 4 times before. They've been playing football for more than 100 years at these schools. 4 meetings, and yet we get 2 of them in the same calendar. But as you're saying, Obi, you can't take a ton away from that because you have 2 new starting quarterbacks. You have new coordinators. I mean, a lot of the guys aren't there. So I think this will be a familiar matchup, playing them for the second time in 3 games, and yet a very fresh matchup at the same time.
Yeah, and it's here. It's in the big house. It's the horseshoe, right? And we're bringing it here, and I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Manny, and everybody kind of looks and said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a chance to talk to Jack Sawyer last night, who had the big scoop in Sawyer to win that Cotton Bowl. And I asked him, were you preparing to face any Arch Manning? And he said, we were actually surprised we didn't get to see. He got his bell rung in that game. That may have been an issue, but this is our first chance to look at Arch Manning, and we cannot wait to see how he does against Matt Patricia's defense. Guys, a beautiful day for football here at the Shoe. Ben and Jay, we can't wait. The first time in history a #1 team has been an underdog in their opener. The Longhorns, a 1-point dog today here in Ohio.
Incredible. All right, thanks, guys. Now to the Atlas Butler offensive checkup, and the big question on everyone's mind, obviously, How will the new starting quarterback do in 2025? That's right, Julian Sayin, he's named the starter going into week 1 after just about 2 weeks ago, the long battle with the starting spot with Lincoln Kienholz. So the question, does history benefit the young gunslinger? Well, yes and no. Let's take a look at the past 3 starting Buckeye quarterbacks and see how they fared in their debut. Obviously, the legend, C.J. Stroud, he started his first game back against Minnesota in 2021. He had a solid game going 13 for 22, 294 through the air, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception, leading the Buckeyes to a 45-31 victory. Then there was Kyle McCord after that. The starter got to flex his muscles in the Indiana game. He didn't have the best game, going 20 for 33, 239 through the air. McCord didn't throw a single touchdown pass in that game, and he had 1 interception, but the Buckeyes still got the win 23-3. A win is a win, as they say. And then there's national champion. That has a nice ring to it right there. National champion Will Howard, the Steelers' newest quarterback, got his first start against Akron, dialing up 3 touchdowns on 228 yards of passing, crushing the Zips 52-6. Now, Jay, all 3 of these past Buckeye quarterbacks got their starts against much more inferior opponents. Are you nervous about such a young, unproven, yet highly touted quarterback taking the start in this big game here?
Yeah, Ben, am I nervous? To be honest, yes. And you should be a little bit nervous because Texas has a front 7, and they've got some guys that can get after the quarterback. And people need to realize, this quarterback competition between Julian and Lincoln was a lot closer than people want to know. Lincoln being a little bit bigger, physical, more athletic. Julian being a little bit more talented, throwing the football and able to break down defenses. And so I think Ryan went with the quarterback he knew could run his offense at the highest level, and I think that's important. 2 things to look for if I'm an Ohio State fan watching this game in that first quarter, maybe that first half. 1, establish the run. Ohio State needs to lean on the run. Do not let your young quarterback feel like he needs to carry the load and be a superhero. He does not. There's a fantastic football team around him. There's some O-linemen that are fantastic. There's 2 good running backs, and then there's JJ. So calm down, run the football, and then number 2, do not throw the ball between the hashes. You do not want young quarterbacks throwing the ball in between those hashes with all those defenders. It's one of those true things that always holds with young quarterbacks. If early in the game they have to throw the ball between the hashes, that usually spells disaster. Something can happen there. So if I'm Ryan Day, if I'm Brian Hartline, at least early on, simple game plan, nothing between the hashes, run the football, and get a couple quick ones to get Julian comfortable.
Coach Urban Meyer said it this week, too. Just get 2 first downs. I heard him on a podcast said that as well. And not throwing it through the middle, you have a tendency to overstride. All of a sudden it's tipped, perhaps an interception there.
So it's a big crowd, 112, 15,000.
Yep.
You just got to take it nice and easy.
Nice and easy, as we said. Now, one of the knocks on Julian Sayin by countless analysts is just his size, Jay, his physicality. He obviously has a great arm, good football IQ, but some are worried he doesn't have the physicality it takes from a durability standpoint. Now, he's listed at 6'1", 207. That means he's around the same size as some quarterbacks who were considered undersized in the past, but still went on to have historic college football careers. You look at Johnny Manziel, he was 6 foot 209. Baker Mayfield listed at 6'1", 209. Dylan Gabriel, 5'11", 205. So, Jay, are you concerned about Julian Sayin's size?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because size is important at the quarterback position when it comes to durability, Ben. When you talk about guys who are going to be taking some hits, you're going to be going after some ferocious defenses, and you have to be able to kind of weather the storm. Will Howard last year, I don't know that he was the arm talent that Julian Sayin is, but, man, Will could take a beating. He was a big, strong, 6'5", 240-pound kid. And then you got Julian, who's a little bit more slight in the frame area. However, it's all about what you do play calling wise to protect your quarterback. So look for the pocket to move. You'll see that a lot with Drew Brees back in the day. You see that with Dylan Gabriel at Oregon. Yeah. The pocket's moving. A lot of bootlegs left, bootlegs right, things that can get him on the move so he can see the passing lanes clearly, deliver the football, and not be hanging out there like a piece of meat to drive for those wild dogs. Yeah. So I think he has a chance if they play it smart with the scheme. Yeah, keep it simple. Good stuff. All right, now for more on the Buckeyes' new man under center, let's send things out to Kellyanne Stitz at The Shoe. Kellyanne?
Guys, the Julian Sayin era has officially begun at Ohio State. I'm going to step aside and let you guys see QB1 warming up to make his debut in the biggest season opener ever at The Shoe. Now, While we haven't seen much of Sayin, he has a super ceiling. He's received high praise, highly touted for his arm strength and ability to make plays with his feet. But we've only seen a sample size of that in scarlet and gray. He made 4 appearances last year with the red shirt and threw a touchdown pass against Western Michigan. But Ryan Day doesn't want to bog him down with high expectations out of the gate, making his debut against the #1 team to start the season. So Day's only expectation for the young quarterback is to find a way to win today.
He's got a good group of guys around him. He's got a good defense. He's got good special teams, a good offensive line, good skill guys. He needs to lean into those players and find a way to win the game. We'll try to get him into a rhythm and then go from there. And that's really it. It's a start. It's the first game, and we're excited for him.
Yeah, I mean, Julian's got a lot of confidence in himself. I can tell, from last year to this year, like he's a lot more confident. He's confident in his ability. I think the guys around him are really confident in him, the receiver room, the whole offense. And, I'm happy for him. I'm excited for him week 1. I think he's going to go out there and ball out.
Julian's also received high praise for his quick release and good decision-making. He's sneaky athletic and can run. I've heard nothing but great things about him and his talent, but he has to put it on the field, and his teammates are clearly very confident in his ability to get the job done. We'll see if he taps into Super Saiyan today against the Longhorns. Guys.
All right, coming up next on the Football Fever, does Texas have the blueprint to stop the best player in college football? Well, they seem to last year, but this is a new JJ for the 2025 season. How the star wideout plans to terrorize the Longhorns defense. This is the Football Fever. Stay with us. All right, welcome to one of our new segments here on the Football Fever. We'll call it Nissan Shifting Strategies, and the Buckeyes are certainly going to have to shift their offensive strategy this year. Not only did they lose offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, but they also lost a bunch of offensive weapons. Will Howard and Emeka Egbuka, they are gone, as is the two-headed monster at running back, Quinshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson, all household names. They also lost some key guys battling it out in the trenches, creating space for those guys to flourish. Donovan Jackson and Josh Simmons and Josh Fryer are all gone, but that doesn't mean Ohio State is depleted on offense.
That's right, Ben. One of the guys returning is the best player in college football, Jeremiah Smith, and he says he's ready for Texas. Now, more importantly, he's looking to have a better personal performance than he did against Texas the last time around.
That motivated me a lot. I know I didn't really have a great game that game last year. This game is going to be a different outcome, I should say.
And as JJ said, his performance against Texas in the Cotton Bowl, it wasn't up to his usual lofty standards. Okay, he hauled in just 1 catch for 3 yards and get this, no touchdowns. It seemed the Longhorns had found a way to stop JJ. I think what you're seeing with the Ohio State Buckeyes is they're trying to find ways to get clear out routes to get him underneath and over top. But what you see from Texas is they bracketed him. Okay, you got number 4 on number 4 right here, 1 deep and 1 underneath. That kind of coverage, it is difficult for him to make a play on the ball. Will put it a little bit high, but even with the great coverage, he's still able to get 2 fingers on the ball. He probably wants that catch back, and I'm sure Will wants that pass back. But just look at all the white jerseys all around Jeremiah Smith. And take a look at this next play. You see a pass to G. Scott right there across the middle, but what you don't understand is why that pass opens up. By the way, Will threaded the needle. Beautiful, beautiful pass there. But as you look at the coverage, okay, everyone's taking off. They're getting back. You got like a 4-cloud look here, and then you have the middle opens up because you're getting so much attention from all of these defenders are wanting to stop number 4. Fantastic pass by Will, but right on the money. That's going to be Max Clare this season, transfer from Purdue. That's going to be a guy that can really open up the middle of the field and is going to be critical for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And then when you can't get it to JJ out there because they just are covering everything, you have to find ways to get him the football, possibly behind the line of scrimmage. So what you continue to see with Ohio State, and they did this against Oregon, is a motion with Jeremiah Smith into the backfield, and let's have him motion out short and just try to get the ball out there to him, get the ball in his hands, get him comfortable, and get the quarterback to completion. But Texas was all over that, and I think that is why things got a little hairy for JJ in the last matchup. Despite all the issues JJ had with Texas last year, Coach Ryan Day says he's confident in his star receiver, and he will not have another slow day at the office.
When Jeremiah's touching the ball, a lot of good things happen. So that's our job to make sure that that's happening. But at the same time, we got to make sure we do what we can to win the game and then go from there.
So things Jeremiah Smith needs to do to have a great game today in Ohio Stadium: get the ball quickly, early, outside in the flat, probably not too much across the middle, and just get him going and get him comfortable. When receivers get early touches, they get into a rhythm. This is going to be a very, very important game for him to have a rhythm so that you continue to threaten all of Texas's defenders and keep the focus on him so that the other guys can open up. You're going to see Carnell Tate. You're going to see Max Clare. You're going to see James Peoples out of the backfield, and they're going to do some flood routes and things in motion to continue to overload one side of the offense to make that defense think. For more on the season ahead and for Jeremiah Smith, let's send things out to Dave and Obi at the shoe.
Well, guys, we all know that the best freshman in college football last year was Jeremiah Smith. But you know who didn't know it, Obi? The voters of the Sean Alexander Award, who actually said Texas's pass rusher Colin Simmons was the best freshman in all of college football. Your thoughts on Colin Simmons being ranked above Jeremiah Smith, albeit they play different positions?
Yeah, they did play different positions. But you know what? I am a defensive guy, and I have to admit, I think Jeremiah is a monster. But I also think that Colin Simmons is a beast, too. Yeah. I don't think that he should not have gotten the award based off of what he did. He just didn't do a whole lot with Ohio State when Ohio State played him. But, I mean, this kid is out of Duncanville, Texas. He's a 5-star athlete, 2-time high school state champion, and he was just a beast when it came to how he was able to change the game when he played. And, again, let me tell you, it is the because kind of I got a little bit confused. It's out of the Maxwell Football Club. So there's 2 different awards. One award is the Maxwell Award, right? And the other award is the Sean Alexander Award. Yeah. I'm gonna ask you this, Dave. Though here's a little trivia. Yeah. Who's the last Buckeye, former Buckeye, who wasn't a Buckeye at the time, that won the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year award.
Would it have been Caleb Downs?
No. Quinshawn
Judkins at Ole Miss.
At Ole Miss.
Interesting.
Yes, interesting, right? Yeah. So, hey, but you know what? I know that today, both of them know, JJ, right, and Colin Simmons, they know, right, that they're the super sophomores, right? And let's go, we'll have to see what they're going to do. But, hey, I much respect to Colin Simmons. I'm not as big of a debater on that particular subject, but I know that JJ better be at the Heisman come the end of this season.
Well, I'll say this. Colin Simmons had 9 sacks as a true freshman, 3 forced fumbles. He was really, really good. And he goes against an offensive line today that's replacing some key starters from last year. What is your level of concern with this OSU O-line against Colin Simmons?
Well, I think Colin Simmons has some things to prove because, again, he didn't do a whole lot against the game last year. But we have some issues on the offensive line. I say issues. I don't want to say issues. I said we have some question marks there.
Yeah.
He's a very athletic guy. He's quick. He's shifty. You know, he was more of a pass rusher, but as the season went on last year, he started to use his eyes a little more, his hands a little more. He's able to read the run. I think he's a more all-around player. Kind of reminds me of a little Khalil Mack. I don't know if you remember when Buffalo came in.
A guy who came in here with Buffalo and made some plays.
Made some plays.
And some money.
And some money,
Yeah.
right? So he could come in and do something like that. Do not be surprised if we hear Colin Simmons' name called often.
Well, Julian Sayin is not a true freshman, but he is making his first start. I know you and I talked a little bit about this during the break. Why is it about Julian Sayin that gives you confidence in his temperament?
Well, you know what? It reminds me of Joe Germain. I don't know how many of you all remember Joe Germain, but Joe Germain, his temperament was smooth on the field and off the field. And guys like that just don't seem to get real excited, you know? And I think Julian, I'm just saying, that's his nickname. That's what I'm calling for the rest of the season. Julian, I'm just saying, I think he has the temperament to handle the pressure that would typically bother someone else.
Yeah, well, the other quarterback, Arch Manning, certainly comes into the shoot today with a ton of hype. Coming up next here on The Football Fever, we'll tell you the one key player on Ohio State's defense who's going to try to stop Arch Manning. Stay with us. More Fever coming up next. Welcome back to the Football Fever live from Ohio Stadium as the Ohio State Buckeyes welcome in the top-ranked team in the country, the Texas Longhorns. Now, Obi, we've talked a lot about players who went to the NFL, but there are coaching changes, major ones on this Ohio State coaching staff, most notably Matt Patricia from the NFL now to defensive coordinator here at Ohio State. And the last time Matt Patricia was on a college sideline was more than. And with all due respect to the Carrier Dome, this ain't the Carrier Dome. So this is going to be something new for Matt Patricia. What do you think about him in year one as he tries to shut down Arch Manning in his first game?
You know what? I'm excited that he's in the position. I think he can bring a lot of different elements, ideas, concepts from the NFL to an Ohio State University. My only concern with Matt Patricia is that he over-schemes. I want him to please allow these players to play. And I think even the previous coach, he actually over-schemes sometimes. You have the guys. It's one thing at Ohio State. You don't have to worry about not having the guys. So just make sure that you don't get too much into the analytical, the hypotheticals and the ideas of this move or that particular move. Let these guys just go out there and play the game. I think he's intelligent. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a smart coach, and I think he's a great coaching move. But sometimes I get a little concerned with a little too much.
Yeah, well, the entire defensive line has essentially gone to the NFL, but they do bring back some talent. Guys who played a lot of snaps, like Sonny Styles at linebacker. You bring back a lot of that secondary with Caleb Downs, Jermaine Matthews Jr., Davison Igbinosun. So old Mother Hubbard's dog can still eat. I mean, yes. The cupboard's not totally barren, Obi. So what do you think about the guys who did return?
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at Sonny Styles, and I had an opportunity to have some conversations. You know what? Sonny, this season, I'm expecting Sonny Styles to actually understand and know that he can actually change the game. He has the athletic ability, he's smart, he can play the position, but he is a game changer ready to come out to break out. He hasn't had that breakout game yet. I think that today could be the day.
Well, everyone loves to rave about Arch Manning's brain and his vision, and no doubt he is staring right at one guy on that Ohio State defense, and that is the field general, Caleb Downs. Here's what Arch Manning had to say about going against the Buckeyes All-American safety.
They got really good players. They're well coached. They've got a bunch of guys that play a lot of football. Caleb Downs, I can't say enough good things about him. He's a really good player, and we're going to have to bring our A game.
You know, it's not often that quarterbacks talk safeties. Normally you're thinking about the guy coming to sack you or the linebacker, but he has his eye on Caleb Downs. And Arch Manning is going to stare at Caleb Downs today. Almost reminds you of another Manning who used to have an obsession with a safety at the NFL level.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, with Ed Reed. Ed Reed was a quarterback of the defense there at Baltimore. You know what? It's interesting because I believe that's going to be a very serious cat and mouse game. Them trying to anticipate what each other. Caleb Downs is going to be all over the field. He's not going to always know where Caleb is, but even if he knows where he is, he's not going to be actually understanding what is Caleb's responsibilities. And I think that's a part of what Matt Patricia will bring to the table. I think that Caleb will win this matchup, and I think it comes down to and the superior player.
Yeah, Caleb Downs has maybe the best closing speed I've ever seen. He closes quicker than a Spirit Halloween on November 1st. I mean, when he sees this guy, he runs straight downhill, and he's going to play a little cat and mouse game also with Steve Sarkisian, Texas's head coach, who has become almost legendary in the way he likes to script the first 15 plays of every game. Here's Caleb Downs talking about the play calling that he's going to face this afternoon.
Their offense does a great job executing the plans that he makes out for them. His 15-play script is legendary. So he's been doing this for a long time. He's a really good coach.
If you're the Buckeyes, you want to flip that script as early as you can and get Sark uneasy.
Yeah, you want to, and I hope they release the hounds. You know what I mean? I really hope they just fire these guys off. Let them go and play, and let the crowd get into it and really rattle Sark's 15 early plays.
Yeah, we can't wait, guys, to see the battle. So many interesting battles here, but Arch Manning against a fairly new Ohio State defense near the top of the list of things we're going to look for today at the shoe.
Yeah, great matchups to come, guys. All right, in the Atlas Butler defensive checkup, Caleb Downs is certainly one of the key returners on defense in 2025. The Silver Bullets, they lost 8 starters from last year, and those starters include their entire defensive line. Guys like Jack Sawyer, Tyleik Williams, JT Tuimoloau, Jordan Hancock, Denzel Burke, Lathan Ransom. So it's time to step up, as you can see. Players like Jermaine Matthews, Caden more prominent roles. Others like Edric Houston have seen their position change to fill in the gaps. And then there's players like Devin Sanchez who have yet to prove themselves on a college football field, but they have all the talent to do so. Jay, how are you feeling about this new look Silver Bullet defense here?
Oh, man, Ben. So one of the coolest things about graduating so many good players and getting so many guys to the next level is you get to reload and you get to find out who's going to be the guy. And you know me, I'm always about my defensive line. So I want so badly to see which one of these young defensive linemen is going to emerge as the premier pass. Ask me right now, I'm saying number 97, Kenyatta Jackson. Only a sack and a half last season, but when you watch the tape of Kenyatta Jackson, the kid just continues to get better and better every week last season, and he has this frame and this physique, man. You know, 6'5" and some change, 265 pounds. That sounds familiar, Ben. But built a lot way different than my old self. I mean, the dude is chiseled. He just looks like an NFL defensive end, and you're going, okay, he looks like one. Can he play like one for every game Ohio State needs him to this season? And then in the back end, that's going to be the strength of the Ohio State defense, is going to be the secondary. And Caleb Downs, the quarterback of that defense, will be going toe-to-toe with Arch Manning. But then you got Iggy at one corner. You got Matthews at the other corner. These two guys are top-tier athletes, top-tier corners. And then the linebackers, Reese, and then, of course, Sonny Styles, who is a freak of nature athletically. I love what I'm seeing in our back seven as much as what we've seen in any team in Ohio State history. So the D-line's going to be the question, but I like the support they have behind them.
Are we even surprised that the guy keys in on the defensive line?
on,
I mean, that's where you go right away. How could you not? I'll tell you what, man. Love it. All right, we're back soon here on the Football Fever. All right, time now for the G&J Pepsi Fantastic Photo of the Week. And if you ever attend a tailgate, it's important you're repping the proper attire, as we know. That means a Buckeye necklace and any scarlet and gray you can get your hands on. You know who else embodies the spirit of the Buckeyes? None other than Travion Henderson. Our Kellyanne Stitz caught up with the former national champion before kickoff.
A warm welcome back for national champion running back Travion Henderson, now New England Patriot. Lots of memories here at the shoe. And a lot of people to catch up with. What's it like being back here?
It feels great. I'm excited. Excited to see these guys put it all on the field and see them come out with the win, hopefully. So.
Your first touchdown as a New England Patriot, you returned a kick and you housed it. How is that feeling?
Yeah, I praise God. You know, it's an exciting moment. You know, being in the NFL is a blessing. Something I've been working for since a little kid, so it's an honor to be in that position.
With you and Quinshon into the NFL, it's time for guys like James Peoples to step up. Do you think he's ready for this moment?
We'll see. You know, I know he's a really hard worker. You know, he puts his head down and goes to work. And so that whole running back group is really good. And so I know Coach Locke is continuing to develop them as great men and great players. And so we'll see them put it on the field today.
Thank you for your time, Trey.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I don't think Ohio State is what we saw last year winning the national championship. They're good, but I don't think they're elite. Now, Vegas tends to go with home field and with what we know, and what we know is Ohio State won the championship last year. But I think Vegas is completely wrong. I really don't even think this game is going to be close. I'm not trying to screw up viewership for it. It's a big event, one of the biggest games we have seen. But I think Texas's roster is better, and I think Ohio State is going to be hung over from last year with a new quarterback, by the way, 2 new coordinators as well. Try putting that in the potion and making it work well. It's usually a disaster.
All right, in this edition of the DR Hortons, those are some fighting words there. America's home builder, bulletin board material, Paul Feinbaum, is taking a swipe at the Ohio State Buckeyes. You heard him. This team isn't elite, apparently not the same as last year. Obviously, the 2 new coordinators. He thinks that some growing pains are on the horizon in Columbus. Jay, how much of this is true and how much of this is just the SEC bias.
Well, first of all, that's Paul Feinbaum, so we know he's
you
the
know
mouth
what you're
of the
gonna
South,
get there. Come
and
on.
he's Mr. SEC country. But what he's not wrong about is, yes, there is going to be some turnover. You got 2 new coordinators. You don't know what you're going to get at the quarterback position, and you have a team that's coming off a championship. I understand all of that. Where Paul Feinbaum lost me is when he said it's not even going to be close.
No doubt.
This could be a 3-score game. Like, I don't think he understands the Ohio State football culture and the kinds of players that are routinely heading into this building down there at the Woody Hayes. And I think what he doesn't understand is that Ryan Day has built a culture of not just reloading, they continue to add wrinkles and improve year in and year out as a total football team. And the pieces that were added, the new coordinator, you talk about Matt Patricia, this is a guy that, coached 15 seasons in New England, was not only a defensive coordinator under Belichick for 6 seasons, also was an offensive play caller. So you got a guy in Ohio State's defense, we got a guy in the box today that's going to be able to diagnose what offenses are trying to do, quickly make adjustments, quickly get calls down to the field on what they need to do to stop what Arch Manning and the Texas Longhorns are doing. So Paul Feinbaum, take a deep breath, my man. I know you love the SEC, and rightfully so. It's a fantastic conference, but don't think for a second that this thing is going to get out of hand. These are the Ohio State Buckeyes.
The mouth from the South. We'll just have to see. It's going to be pretty soon here now.
I
Here we go.
cannot wait.
All right, for more on Feinbaum's opinions and if Ohio State has the personnel to beat Texas again, let's send things out to Dave and Obi at the shoe. Hey, guys.
I think history indicates that Ohio State always has the personnel, at least since the Jim Tressel era. I mean, the recruiting's been top-notch, Obi. So I don't think it's personnel. What could it be that might be a concern?
Well, you know what? It's interesting because I think it possibly could be the personnel. I think they have the personality. That was something that was established, I think, even last year. That Ryan Day, because it was under serious scrutiny. Everybody was questioning Ryan Day's toughness and all that kind of stuff. But his perseverance after the Michigan game, that whole come to Jesus moment when he came together and brought that team together, galvanized, and won the national championship. That was crazy, right? So we're like, okay, so he's going off of the momentum of he's established the personality of the team. Not only toughness, but perseverance. As long as I have a heartbeat, I got an opportunity. Guess what? He has that. But the personnel, we're like, we got a few here, a few there. But as a whole, do we have? I mean, you're coming off of a season where you had 8 guys that were returning starters, right? So you're kind of revamping things now. But so, hey, I think they got the personality. Let's see if we got the personnel.
Okay, well, we're going to find out today against the Texas Longhorns. But coming up next year, our own Kellyanne Stitz just went one-on-one with one of the best Buckeyes in history. That's coming up next year on The Football Fever.
Well, the games between Texas and Ohio State have always been instant classics, and a Buckeye who played a big part in those early clashes with the Longhorns was none other than Malcolm Jenkins. Kellyanne Stitz caught up with him before the game.
A warm welcome back for former Buckeye great and two-time Super Bowl champ Malcolm Jenkins. Malcolm, what's it like being back at the shoe?
It's a lot of energy, It's a big day, kicking off the season. Happy to be back in Columbus.
You played Texas 3 times, including that 05-06 home and away series. What were your memories from Texas?
Man, those were some epic games, especially that one here in the shoe. We didn't come out on top on that one, so hopefully this time we avenge that. It's been a minute, but those were some epic games.
You were one of the best safeties to ever play in scarlet and gray. Caleb Downs, also an incredible safety currently for Ohio State. What are your thoughts on his game?
Man, his game is dynamic. I think obviously he's one of the top guys in the league in the country, leading for the Thorpe. Hopefully, I was one of those Thorpe Award winners, and I think he might be the next one in Ohio State's history.
What are you looking forward to out of this game? This is a 20-year anniversary of Texas coming here and defeating the Buckeyes. Hopefully history doesn't repeat itself.
Yeah, hopefully not. And hopefully they do better than we did. But it's going to be an epic game. It's obviously going to set the tone for the season. We'll see what this Buckeye team is about against the #1 team in the country.
And Malcolm, really quick, what have you been up to lately?
Everything. Man, biggest thing is now that I've retired has been focusing on my foundation. We're still active in everywhere I've called home. Louisiana, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and here in Columbus, Ohio. Those things have been active. Literally, my foundation's been around longer than I played football, which is an accomplishment. We're celebrating 15 years of service. So really just continuing to focus on double down on community.
And for those who want to get involved, where's the foundation? Where can they find that information?
Yeah, they can go check us out at themalcolmjenkinsfoundation.org. You'll find out all of our programs, how to volunteer, how to donate, and help us continue that work in our communities.
Thank you so much for your time, Malcolm. And again, welcome back to the shoe.
I appreciate it.
Time now for our Hyundai keys to the game. We the Peoples. I'm talking to you, James Peoples. You've waited your turn, and now it's time for you to take over that backfield. No way Ryan Day wants Julian Sayin dropping back 50 times. We need that running game to be good. Houston, we have a problem. Hopefully Arch Manning has a problem because Edric Houston and this new-look defensive line needs to make life miserable for the quarterback of the Texas Longhorns, and you're saying there's a chance. Sometimes the obvious answer is still the right answer. This game comes down to how Julian Sayin handles the big stage in his first career start. Obi Stillwell back at the shoe live here. Final thoughts as the Buckeyes get ready for #1.
You know what? I think it's going to be a defensive game. I think Ohio State has to at least get 85 yards on the ground rushing from the running backs. I just cannot imagine Texas coming in and winning this game. Not with the guys that are back. I think you look at Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles. I think they're looking at this as their senior season. I think they're probably going after every down counts, every minute counts. I think Buckeyes win 21-18.
Well, guys, I can promise you, sometimes we sports anchors are prone to exaggeration and hyperbole. We mean it this week. It doesn't get any bigger than this. The #1 team in the land coming here, a rematch from that Cotton Bowl. We cannot wait. That'll do it for us live at the shoe. Let's send it back to Ben and Jay now in the studio.
Great stuff, guys. All right, before we give our final thoughts, we're presenting a new segment here on The Fever, Prime Sportsbook's Picks of the Day. Just because Ohio State is playing today doesn't mean there's other amazing matchups out there. Jay and I are going to have our thoughts on who we want to win these games, or who we're picking, rather. Who do you like? Some other matchups out there?
So, you know what? I love this Clemson-LSU game. I love ball, man, and with Clemson-LSU, I got to go Clemson. I think it's about time for their resurgence out of the ACC, and I think they're going to take over Brian Kelly down there. Both their programs, by the way, are called Death Valley, where you play at, which is hilarious to me, and they're both the Tigers, so it's such an interesting matchup. And then you got Notre Dame, Miami. I got to go with the Fighting Freemans, baby.
Have to go with it. I'm going Alabama over Florida State. The brand is going to have a little bit of a resurgence, and then I'm going Notre Dame over Miami. Have to go with Marcus as well. Now, remember, you must be 21 and over. And if you think you might have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Jay, final thoughts going into this big game at the Shoe.
Ohio State, come out fast. That crowd, wake up, let's go. I heard there's fireworks in the stadium right now. Good. That was to wake everybody up, lock in. This is a big, big game.
Ryan Day, I think you need to keep it simple for Julian Sayin. We're going to see a new look on the defensive side of the ball. This D lineman, that's going to be key here. All right, that'll do it for us here on the Football Fever. The Buckeyes and the Longhorns kick it off in just a moment over on Fox. Join us immediately following the game for a special live reaction and then our traditional post-game show at 11. Enjoy the game, everyone. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.